So how about that weather today, huh? Beautiful. 60 degrees in January.
We are lucky indeed. Okay, it looks like the attendee list has kind of stayed stagnant at about 25 people. So welcome everyone. We're really glad that you could join us this evening. My name is Larry Handerhan. I'm the incoming commissioner for ANC 1B, and it's my real privilege today to welcome Councilmember Brianna Doe, our Ward 1 Councilmember, for the information session for our very first FY 2023 meeting. So the council member has two roles tonight. The first is to swear in 3 commissioners who are not able to attend the in-person swearing in later today. So we thank you for your service, Commissioner. And then we're really lucky that she's going to stay on and serve as the key special guest for us before our formal meeting starts at 7 o'clock. So council member, thank you so much for being here, and I will turn it over to you.
Well, thanks. Congratulations, everybody. It's great to be with you. Let's kick off by getting everyone sworn in. So for any of our commissioners who did not already get sworn in on January 2nd, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. Because there are multiple of you, I will say state your name rather than your name, and you can say your name rather than repeating state your name in case that isn't obvious. And you choose whether to swear or affirm. Most people swear unless they have like a religious objection to swearing. That's typically how people decide, swear or affirm. Okay, ready? Okay. I state your name.
Alan Kenson.
Hi, Larry Handerhan.
Having been duly elected as a commissioner.
Having been duly elected as a commissioner
Of the advisory neighborhood.
Of the
advisory neighborhood commissions of the District of Columbia.
Of the District of Columbia.
Of the District of
Columbia.
Do solemnly swear or affirm that.
Solemnly
swear that.
I state your name.
Alan Kenson.
I, Larry Handerhan.
Will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
will support
and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will perform such duties as may be assigned to me.
That I will
Perform such duties as may be assigned to me.
As member of
Member of said commissions.
Said commissions.
to the best of my ability.
To the best of
To
my
the best of my
ability.
ability.
Without fear or favor.
without
Without
fear.
fear or favor.
That I will exercise my best judgment.
That I will
Exercise my best judgment.
And will consider each matter before me.
And will consider each matter before me.
From the viewpoint of the best interest of the District of Columbia.
From the
From the viewpoint of the best interest of the District of Columbia.
As a whole.
As a whole.
And that I will faithfully discharge said duties.
And
And I will faithfully discharge said duties.
Congratulations.
Thank you, council member.
So happy to join you tonight. It is the beginning of a new council period down at the John A. Wilson building. And it's very exciting. We have 2 new members that have joined the council, Matthew Furman from Ward 3 and Jackery Parker from Ward 5. I have taken on a new role as chairperson of the Committee on Public Works and Operations, which means I have oversight of the Department of Public Works, yay, as well as the Office of Chief Technology Officer, the Office of Risk Management, Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection, which also interacts with the ANC quite a bit. This is half of the old DCRA. I've got the Office of LGBTQ Affairs, and more. And Kevin can pop in the links from the DC Council website of my committee stuff. So it's all really fun and exciting for me trying something new. I was chair of the Committee on Human Services for 6 years and really proud of the work that I was able to do there because it's really about serving our most vulnerable populations. And we have many people in Ward 1 who fit into that category. So getting housing for thousands and thousands of people experiencing homelessness, building a new family system for homelessness, effectively ending homelessness and financial instability for children exiting foster care through a bill that I passed at the end of the year. Expanding rights and services for people with disabilities in adulthood. We've done a lot of really great work. And I felt like I was up for a new challenge. So I'm excited to make Public Works the centerpiece of this new committee because it's a government function that impacts everybody's lives. And I think that being chair of the committee and having direct oversight of DPW for the first time will allow me to ensure that Ward 1 is appropriately served as well. So I'm very excited about it. I'm also continuing to serve on the health committee, continuing to serve on the youth recreation and youth affairs committee. And I'm now serving on a new committee called Facilities and Family Services, chaired by Councilmember Louis George, which includes the Department of General Services. It's one of our big agencies that manages all the property owned by the District of Columbia and does all the property management for parks and schools and not libraries. I was going to say libraries, but it's not libraries. They manage their own, poor things. And then also it has the child welfare agencies and also the disability services cluster. So those are two clusters that were under my committee before. So we like to have a little continuity between the council periods. So I got to stay on that one. It's all very exciting. We have a new chair of the committee on housing. That's Robert White. And he got housing, all the housing agencies plus the Department of Human Services, which is a really good way of pairing things, I think. Maybe something I'd suggested a few years ago, maybe not. But in any case, it's good. It's good to have all those services in one place. And we have a new chair of the Judiciary Committee. That's Brooke Pinto. And a new chair of the Health Committee. That's Christina Henderson. So there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. At the end of the council period in December, we moved more than 60 bills because at the end of a council period, bills die if they don't make it out with 2 votes. So we moved a pile of them and we haven't even been able to transmit them to Congress yet because we can't do that until they're officially in session and because they have not elected their speaker yet. So the clock hasn't started on all of those bills that require a 30-day congressional review. I did an interview today with some of the local media about the impact that is going to have on our government, and it holds things up, frankly. It holds up that bill that I just mentioned that's going to end homelessness and poverty for children exiting foster care. It holds up our expansion of solar benefits. It holds up our whole bunch of things that we're moving steadily through that require congressional review, which is most things that pass through the council because, of course, we're not a state. And so we're stuck. And hopefully Congress will get it together so that they can consider our bills. We already heard from one Republican leader that he plans to challenge my Local Voting Rights Act that expands benefits, expands voting rights to all immigrants in the District of Columbia, which is a very important bill that was introduced 3 or 4 times before we finally got it passed, and is really exciting. And Congresswoman Norton has said, as always, that she will fight back against any efforts to undermine home rule. So we've got a lot going on. We also have one new team member we have 2 new team members in the ward office. Lauren, is Lauren on today, Kevin? Listening in or anything? Okay, you'll meet Lauren. And also David, we have another David joining our staff, David Connerty-Marin, he's our communications director. And I think Kevin just dropped our roster in to the chat as well.
Councilmember, I'm covering for Lauren today.
That's right. She's going to be covering 1B soon. And you'll love her. And Kevin is going to be shifting over to 1E. So you'll meet her at the next meeting. And in the meantime, we have her contact info up on the website. Over in the committee office, we have hired a new committee director. His name is Eric Irving. He joined us from Councilmember Silverman's office. David Connerty-Marin also joined us from Councilmember Silverman's office. And we are still hiring one legislative council position. The job is posted at dccouncil.gov. We have a lot of great interest in it. We're very excited. And we will have a new chief of staff starting at the end of the month. Her name is Nicole Rivero, and some of you may have met her out in the field because she's worked with me over the years on my campaigns, and she's very excited to join the team. Those of you who know Tanya Jackson, who's been my chief of staff, she is moving up to senior advisor because the lady deserves a break from all of us. So it's great. We're excited. Once we have everybody on board, we'll send out an email with all the bios and meet the team. But we are already working hard in the new year. We've been aggressively closing constituent service cases as we complete them. And we certainly welcome any new cases that you come across. We're happy to assist. One thing that for new commissioners, we are always happy to assist you with cases that come to you. We know, our team is paid and you are not, and this is our day job and it is not yours. And so we are happy to help you navigate anything you want to lead on your own. And we are also happy to support you on anything that we can. You'll get to know all of the agency liaisons now that you're on the inside, not just agitating from the outside, and you can work with them to solve problems in your SMDs or that the ANC is experiencing. So I'm excited to have the new crop commissioners. Thank you for your service. Thanks to those who ran again, knowing what you were getting into. And of course, I'll remind folks that I was a 1B commissioner for 2 terms, and I still think it's probably the greatest ANC in the city, but don't tell the other Ward 1 ANCs that. So I will pause there and see if anyone has any questions. But I'm just happy to be with y'all tonight.
We are so happy you're here, and we agree with your assessment on the best commission. So for questions, let's start with commissioner questions. If you have a question, please use the raise your hand function, just so we can kind of make sure we're ordered. And then we'll move to community members' questions. Similarly, if you can use the raise the hand function, we can make sure to take you off mute so that you will be able to ask your question. If you'd rather ask it in the chat, I'm happy to read it that way. So please queue up those questions for us. Commissioner Sycamore.
Hi, Councilmember Nadeau. Thank you so much for joining us. Just quick question in regards to what you said as far as help that your office can provide. Can you give me just a little bit more specifically what kind of things I can come to you or any of us can come to you with in regards to help?
Mm-hmm. So most often you'll be dealing with constituent service requests, things like trash pickup or potholes or bike lanes or road safety. So what I always encourage commissioners to do is the same thing we do, which is first to put any simple requests in 311 and then share the confirmation number with us so we can help if it's not getting the response it deserves. We also encourage members of the public to do that. And the reason I mention this is because almost every service request in the city has to originate in 311 for it to be processed. And so one of us has to do it. So we always encourage the public to be the one to enter it so they can also be tracking it, while also sharing with us their duly elected officials so we can put pressure on agencies that are not living up to the standard that we believe they should for our constituents. We also help unstick things. I mean, sometimes things are not feasible for a 311 request. It's something more complicated. It requires getting agency leadership involved. We're happy to do that. And knowing that you are all duly elected officials, I want you to be able to demonstrate to your constituents that you've accomplished things for them, without stealing your thunder. So we're happy to work with you behind the scenes and share credit whenever we've worked together on something, because I think it is important that everybody understands the different layers of government and how important their unpaid duly elected officials are and the time that they give. So that's like typical stuff, but we're here for whatever. And also, for example, on the legislative side, if there's something the ANC weighs in on, we're always happy to receive those comments as well. Thanks for the question.
Any other commissioner questions? Okay, I don't see any hands raised among attendees. Oh, Commissioner Harris.
I do have one question. Thank you for joining us today, Councilmember Nadeau. I am just curious in terms of, I think it'll be here before we know it, but kind of oversight period and how, what are your top priorities for kind of DPW? I think that's top of mind for a lot of us here as we are probably consistently filling out requests for overflowing trash cans and other kind of issues.
Yeah, so I kind of think of it in two buckets. One is sort of the waste management and reduction side, and collections, and the other is parking enforcement. So in my oversight all year round hat, I've already requested meetings with the two separate teams that manage that, so we can dig down on the things that we're experiencing in Ward 1, which I assume, because we are a microcosm, are things that are being experienced citywide. And I know the longer that I'm in the seat, people will contact me from citywide, so we'll get a bigger snapshot of that even before we get to the hearings. So ensuring that things are collected on time, that there's clear communication, that we don't have a slide issue like we did last week, and that people are getting the services they deserve. Replacing all the cans that have been removed in Ward 1 is a top priority. I'll be requesting, I don't know if I will receive the smart cans that they're trying to pilot, where they can monitor how full they are, which is pretty cool tech. And also, like, really big priority is waste reduction overall. There's an environmental piece to the work that DPW does, and I think the agency hasn't really led with that, because it is really important to simply get everything done that they're tasked with. But I think there's a way to do both. So I'm excited about that. The parking enforcement is also something that is really big for Ward 1. And that's, they're still hiring a bunch of people. And so working with them to figure out how they can streamline any hiring efforts, anything we can do with the council to make it easier for them to do that, that's really important to me. DPW has a workforce that's incredibly dedicated and has also been really hard hit during the pandemic. They had the highest COVID infection rate of any agency in the city. And they continue to have vacancies, not that they aren't allowed to fill, but that are hard to fill. And so just working with them on morale and supporting their workforce is also what I think is a key component of my job. And I'm looking forward to that as well. So those will be the early areas of focus. And then we have some other ideas that cut across various agencies about waste management and that implicate, also DOH and DDOT in terms of public space, that we will be toying with. But those of you who live near commercial areas, which is pretty much most of you, I think will like them. We're going to intro a bill soon that'll be tackling waste a little more creatively and hopefully more compactly with less access for the rats.
Thanks so much for that. Let's go to Santiago, then Alan, and then we'll pivot over to community questions. I see one hand raised and two questions, actually now 3 questions in the Q&A. So we have about 9 minutes left. So if everyone can keep that in mind, that'd be great. Mr. Locker.
Sure, I'll go. Thank you for joining us, and I'll keep it quick. On the oversight hat all year kind of section, I FOIA'd DPW to try and understand where they'd remove trash cans, and they told me prior to 2022, they didn't have any records of where they removed trash cans, and I find that a little odd, but I would ask that maybe you could look into that, because there were trash cans that I know were removed that they didn't list on the information they gave. But broader, I'm very interested to hear about the sort of trash can placement near commercial zones. As you know, a lot of our SMDs cross into residential areas, but commercial zones, and DPW will only put a trash can on one corner, but they won't put it on another corner. And so one corner has a lot of litter and the other one doesn't. So I think it's, when you're looking at that kind of issue, especially because we have a lot of people who park in the neighborhoods, which is another thing, and who will go after the nightlife, and you'll find like jumbo slice boxes in the tree boxes, and this is a big sort of quality of life issue that a lot of our constituents bring to us. So I just wanted to, I'm sure you've heard it, raise it again, because now you're chairing this committee.
Yeah, and to add to that, when I sat them down and was like, why are you taking all our trash cans? they indicated that they had not actually removed all of them, and they were wondering if I knew where they had gone. So that was a mystery that we had to solve. So interestingly, we think some of them were like moved during construction projects and not replaced. And one of the ideas we have is actually mapping trash cans on city planning documents so that it's clearer when there's a construction project where they need to be replaced. So that's something we've been thinking about too. I don't think they were all construction projects. I think someone was just not keeping track, but that was their story. So we'll keep digging into that. When there's smart cans, at least we know where they're going, right? If someone picks them up and moves them, presumably we can track them.
Commissioner Kenzik.
Yes, Happy New Year, council member. Glad to have you with us. I just want to see what we're doing and continuing to do, because I know it's very tough throughout all of DC, but public safety and outreach programs to maybe help deter some of the uptick in crimes and things we've had throughout not only Ward 1 and all the different commissions, but also throughout the city, but particularly Ward 1 for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Commissioner Kenzik, was there a question in there or was that just a statement?
I'm sorry. Yes, no. I was just asking you what ways are we looking to improve public safety in Ward 1, and what other outreach programs or what are your team planning on doing to help the efforts? I've seen in the 7 years, you work tirelessly on homelessness, which hasn't really improved, significantly. Just I've seen, the crime has been big, and it's a lot of my constituents' concerns bringing up to me constantly. So just asking you, since you're on the call.
Got you now. So I was really pleased to see that the 2022 report released by MPD last night showed that crime is down. It's coming down, and it's down in Ward 1, which is really exciting because, as you know, we've put a lot of effort into that with many, many investments in humans and programs and efforts to do that. That does not mean we stop because there's still crime. And we have seen good success with the U Street task force in reducing crime on U Street, which was really challenging. And Kevin, for Dina, there's an article on it, Axios, on the front page of Axios that has that report with mapping, and then it links to the MPD page, which doesn't have the mapping. So thanks to Axios for mapping it out. So in any case, that's huge. I mean, I think we already know that we have $500 million invested in MPD. So my focus has been, how do we make investments in the things that take work off MPD's plate that shouldn't be police? You mentioned homelessness. That's part of it. That's not shouldn't be treated like a crime. That's a human service. Behavioral health issues. I've added funding the past couple of years for outreach, specifically in Ward 1 for behavioral health supports and substance use disorder supports. We're trying to figure out if we can keep expanding that and scale it up. This is going to be the behavioral health piece is going to be a big focus of mine in oversight this year as well. That's one of the reasons I'm really glad I retained the assignment on the health committee. But we are making progress, which is good news. I'll be at the LaDroit Park Civic Association later this month to talk about some of the violent crime that's still been going on there. And we'll be hearing also from the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement about their boots on the ground. They have a new guy working there who grew up there and is a very credible messenger and is working incredibly hard to establish relationships with people to prevent them from picking up guns. And that's huge. I mean, that's how we solve that neighborhood-based violence. We also have a new team coming in now from the Attorney General's office, from the Cure the Streets program, that works in the northern part of the ward in Parkview and Columbia Heights. And the reason that matters is because because Columbia Heights is often in conflict with LaDroit. So it all ties together. And so those efforts are ramping up. We also are going to get a new vendor in Ward 1 for the violence prevention programs that we have had in the past that were run by Collaborative Solutions. They decided not to bid on the contract again. So that contract will be out for bid this month, I believe, and the new team will be in place in April. But in the meantime, folks from the organization called Life Deeds, as well as key staff at the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement have been filling in, and they're doing a great job of just keeping in touch. There's a lot of crossover between the people that had been on the ground and the people that are filling in, so that I'm not concerned about gaps there like I initially was when I was told the contract was not going to be renewed. So
if I can
yeah.
say, the Life Deeds staff have been great. I've seen a ton of engagement, and interim or not, they've been excellent to work with. So I do really appreciate that.
And
we're kind of short on time, so I'm
Yeah,
hoping we can maybe
it's 7
pivot.
o'clock.
Yeah, hoping we can pivot. Karen Gall has a question from the audience. I want to honor that. And then we have 3 questions in the chat that I think if you have maybe quick, like 10 seconds on each.
I'll scroll over.
Yeah, while I take Karen off of mute, I think there's one that the first one from Eric on any update on funding that was set aside for Rita Bright Center renovations in last year's budget. Thanks.
I talked to the mayor about this last month. The money is there. They will start the process. I have asked them to take a hard look at whether or not they could actually add housing above that. And so they are putting their pencil and paper on that.
Thank you.
Good evening, council member. How are you doing today?
Hi, Karen. Good to hear from you.
It's a pleasure. While you're working on DPW, which is great, I'm so happy that that's going to be your focus. The parking tickets that a lot of the constituents have in this area that helps to keep them from moving forward if they want to obtain business licenses or do other business in Washington, D.C. You know, that's a huge economic bite into our neighbors. What are you going to do to help alleviate that system? Because I know initially after COVID, there was some waiving of those ticket costs, but there's still a substantial amount of the tickets still in play that's keeping people from moving forward with other services that they want to do to become economically viable in Washington, D.C. So what can you do as the council member in regards to that?
We changed the law so that parking tickets don't impact clean hands. We can certainly check on the status of implementation and get back to you on that.
Okay, I'm just letting, I guess you have to talk with Office of Tax and Revenue in regards to that, because people are still complaining about that.
I mean, like I said, it might not be yet because of the congressional review period, but we can take a look.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Sure, absolutely.
So it is 7:01, but I want to make sure that people who raise their hand get a chance to weigh in. We have a couple more comments in the chat. The first one is around the fire station by New Hampshire and you. Are you able to see that, Councilmember?
Let me see. It's in the chat.
I can read it to you.
It's in the Q&A. Commissioner Handerhan, do you want to read it?
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm sorry. The
No
Q&A.
problem. I live at 1B07 on New Hampshire Ave and U Street. This is an anonymous question. The fire station constantly drives down my block with blaring sirens. Is there any way residents can request the fire trucks to use lights only, especially on a quiet block?
Totally hear you. Unfortunately, no. It's just unfortunately part of city living, and we've certainly had the conversation with the fire department before, and they've made pretty clear that they only use sirens when they absolutely have to. So they're not doing it to antagonize anybody, and they're not doing it any more than they have to.
Okay. Next question in the Q&A. What kind of sustainable waste reduction strategies are you looking into? Is increasing ease of composting going to be part of it? That is from Patricia Proctor.
Great question. We have a composting pilot that's going to start this year. So households will be able to sign up for that. I'm going to sign up so I can test it out. And that's the beginning. But yeah, I mean, the future of waste reduction definitely involves more composting. Obviously, we have the program at farmers markets, we have a school-based program, and now we're doing the curbside pickup in the pilot. They haven't launched it yet. They're about to. So I'm excited about that. But I think one of my goals is to continue pushing on waste reduction.
Thank you. And Ron Peterson asks, are there any plans for better bike lane enforcement?
Yeah, that's definitely on my list, because I got the parking enforcement element there.
Great. I think we'll want to hear more about that as we move forward. Sebastian Current is going to have our last question, and hopefully we'll be able to start the full meeting at 7:05. So Commissioner Harris, if you're able to take Sebastian off mute, you can ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
The one thing I would like to address is that more than ever, we're getting listing agreements of people who are fleeing Ward 1 because of the crime rise, because of the way the trash is collected, the way that people have been having their dogs snapped. And I'm just telling you that if we don't pay more attention, there's going to be like a lower grade investment in the Ward 1 if we don't, because most of my clients right now, we have all the stats of the people that left Ward 1 last year and went to Virginia and Maryland. If you don't pay attention to that, I mean, I'm a Ward 1. I mean, you know, Brian, I mean, Sybil, I mean, that I'm a strong defender of this area, but because it's very promising. But if we don't pay more attention, so what are we going to do about that? I want to be reassuring.
Okay.
Running out of time.
Yeah, let's just
let pause you there, and I'll try to respond since you and I talk quite regularly. I don't know that we necessarily need to drag this out, but I think you and I just disagree on a lot of what's going on in Ward 1. I'll continue to push agencies to do a better job of collection and cleaning, and certainly, as I mentioned earlier, we're really glad to report that crime has gone down in Ward 1, and we'll continue our efforts. And I hope that more of your clients choose to stay here in Ward 1 because it is a wonderful, diverse place that we are all trying to serve. And I look forward to continuing that conversation with you as we always do. Okay. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
wonderful
you so much, Councilmember. Hey,
Okay.
before you leave, can we maybe ask you to join us on a quarterly basis like you've been doing for the past couple of years moving forward?
Absolutely. Let's just get it on the books.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay. I am pleased to call the official session to order tonight. It is 7:06 on January 5th, 2023. And this is the first meeting of ANC 1B for our 2023 term. My name is Larry Handerhan, and I represent ANC 1B for the purposes of tonight. I'm also the chair pro tem, which just means that it's my job to convene us all in this transition period. So before we jump into the agenda, I just want to acknowledge that we have 5 new commissioners joining 1B tonight. So we are thrilled to welcome you. We also have 3 returning commissioners and 1 vacancy, which we'll address a little bit later. You might notice that means our commission has shrunk from 12 ANCs to 9 ANCs. That's all part of the redistricting that happened last year and took effect for ANCs on January 2nd. I'm going to drop a link into the chat that shows the new ANC 1B map, just in case anyone is curious about what SMD they're in. Their single member district rep is going to likely be on the call tonight unless you live in 1B06, and we'll figure out what to do with that in the near future. So to get started, I would like Commissioner Harris, who is acting temporarily as our secretary as a carryover from last commission, to please call the roll.
Sure. Commissioner Handerhan,
Present.
Commissioner Houlihan,
Present.
Commissioner Sycamore,
Present.
Commissioner Lakatos,
Present.
Commissioner Kinsick,
Present.
Commissioner Fields,
Present.
Commissioner Harris, present, Commissioner Jones.
Present.
We have a quorum of 8 of 8.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Harris. And I just want to say it's so great. This is the first time we've all been together in the same space, and really excited to work with this group in the coming 2 years. So commissioners, you have an agenda before you. It was also posted in the chat for any community members who would like to be following along. Just to kind of level set, this includes 2 main sections in addition to, so the consent agenda is pretty light today. We'll talk about it in a second, but really the goal of today's meeting is to handle a number of administrative responsibilities that we need to help the ANC run. So for those who are joining for maybe the first time, it's going to be very heavy on elections of officers and other things you're going to see shortly. But we also have a number of carryover items from the committees that met in December of last year. So we'll be reporting out on those and getting to some substance after we handle the more administrative pieces of the agenda. There's always an opportunity to add new business, but I think we can expect that the February meeting will be a little bit more of the standard operating once we have kind of set ourselves up from a governance standpoint. That said, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Commissioner Handerhan, I do have a addition to the agenda. It is for our ABR committee updates for an approval of amendments to a settlement agreement in my SMD.
Okay.
But I'm happy to move to approve the agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Great, thank you. Is there any discussion either on the new agenda item or anything that's there right now? Okay, and I'm going to ask for our first vote. It's easiest for us if you can use your hand turn on your camera and use your hand, and we to vote for approval of the agenda. All those in favor, aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Great, the agenda is approved, and we just did our first vote together. Great job. Next, so the first item on our agenda is to approve the consent agenda. This is for things that don't require a lot of discussion. You'll see a consent agenda on every 1B agenda moving forward over the course of the year. In this case, it's just the draft minutes from the last meeting. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Excellent. The consent agenda is approved. Okay, now moving to the administrative section of the agenda. This is going to include a number of items, including the election of officers, the election of committee chairs and advocates. We're going to talk about the 2023 meeting calendar. And then we have a number of things that are just part and parcel of the first meeting. Folks may remember this from past sessions. Former Chair Turner walked us through these. So we're going to talk through the ANC Security Fund, request for a debit card, our adjusted budget, and a few allocations of resources for an administrative consultant, some operating material, and then a retainer for a lawyer. So there's gonna be a lot. We're gonna go through each item individually. I will note that the first item is gonna be election of officers, and once a new chair is elected, that chair will take over the kind of facilitation of this meeting. So you are not stuck with me very much longer, because I am not going to be running for chair. So let's start with the and if people have questions at any time, really encourage you to ask. This is new for a lot of folks, a lot of the commissioners, and don't want anyone to not be totally sure what's happening. So starting with the election of officers, we have 4 officers that we are looking for candidates for. These will serve technically 1-year terms, but often it ends up being carried over. This is something we can reevaluate next January. There's the chair, there's the vice chair, there's the secretary, and the treasurer. So I'm going to ask for nominations for each. And if there isn't more than 1 nomination for position, I'm going to suggest that we approve the slate as a whole, starting with the chair. Is there anyone who would like to make a nomination for themselves or someone else to be the chair of 1B?
I'd like to nominate Sable Harris for chair of ANC 1B.
Commissioner Harris, do you accept that nomination?
I accept.
Jamie?
I'd like to submit Commissioner Kasich.
Commissioner Kunzik, do you accept that nomination?
I accept.
Okay. Any additional nominations for chair? Okay. So let's do the voting one by one, since there's no we can then recalibrate for the other positions. So we are going to ask the 8 commissioners. Everyone can vote. You can vote for yourself, and we're going to conduct and if Sable, since you're in this election, I'll just note who I see so we can confirm the tally. So I'll first ask everyone who's interested in one candidate, then the second candidate, and then anyone who abstains. So first off, if you would like to vote for Sable Harris as chair, please raise your hand and keep it raised so I can tally. Great. And thank you. If you would like to vote for Commissioner Kunzik for chair, please raise your hand and hold so I can tally. 2. Okay. 6 votes for Commissioner Harris and 2 votes for Commissioner Kunzik. Commissioner Harris, you are our new chair. Congratulations to all. Do you want me to continue, Chair? Do you want me to continue running through the elections of officers before turning it over to you, or do you want to take it over right now?
I am happy to take it over, unless you would like to continue. You are doing a wonderful job.
It's a very stressful job, so I am very happy to turn it over to you, Commissioner Harris.
Okay. So moving on, are there any nominations for the office of Vice Chair? Yes, Commissioner Sycamore.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Handerhan.
Commissioner Handerhan, do you accept?
I do.
Great. Are there any other nominations? Okay. Commissioner Handerhan, congratulations. I don't believe I need to move anything unless, are there any other individual nominations for the other offices, for secretary or for treasurer?
I'd like to nominate for treasurer.
You would like to nominate yourself?
That'd be correct.
Okay, Commissioner Jones?
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Lakatos.
Okay.
For
Okay. Well, we can take a vote on treasurer then. So all those voting for Commissioner Kunzik, please raise your hand. Okay. All those voting for Commissioner Lakatos, raise your hand. Okay. Congratulations, Commissioner Lakatos. Now on to secretary. Are there any nominations for secretary?
I'd like to nominate Sean.
Commissioner Houlihan, do you accept? You're on mute.
I apologize.
Your audio is cutting in and out.
I apologize. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know if I'd make a particularly good secretary. My work is rather, and I haven't held this position at an ANC before, so I don't know if I'd be the best person.
Okay. I would like to nominate Commissioner Jones. Do you accept?
I accept the nomination.
Okay, well, congratulations. Congratulations to our executive officers. Thank you, everyone, for stepping up. We do have next the election of committee chairs and advocates. So we have several vacancies, pretty much all vacancies for these committees. As you all know, ANC 1B we have a lot, even though our commission has been reduced, but we cannot conduct a lot of our business during committees. And so these are very much a big and important responsibility. So are there any nominations? And I'm just going to go in alphabetical order. We have first our ABR committee, our Alcohol Beverage Regulation Committee that looks at liquor licenses, new businesses, sometimes zoning matters as it relates to kind of the arts overlay, and really kind of the issues that affect bars, restaurants, general nightlife, and even the alignment that goes into play with safety and other factors as well too. So there are any nominations for ABR?
I'll nominate myself for that, considering the amount of liquor licenses that are in my district.
Great. Well, you are officially appointed. Thank you for taking that on. You will certainly have some help. Don't worry. But you have a lot at stake, and we will all be there to support. And former Commissioner Eric Baina really left everything in a great spot. So, and I'm sure he will be in touch with you with any other kind of remaining items that he has. So next is community engagement and public safety. Now, the former chair, Commissioner Amanda Farnan, did suggest that we split this committee. I think for the time being, we will keep it as one, and then explore it kind of as the year progresses if we need to separate it into two different committees. I think what we really need to do, especially at the start, with the new kind of commission, is we need to make sure that the community is involved, because there is some turnover in people kind of residing in new commissions, people kind of leaving the committees. So I think we do need to keep this as one, and it should be all of the committee chairs' priorities to recruit for committee members. But are there any nominations for community engagement and public safety?
I would like to nominate myself for community engagement and public safety.
I'd also like to nominate myself for that as well.
Great.
Hello, I'm sorry, my connection keeps going out. I don't know if you've already said it. I'd like to nominate myself.
Okay. So we have 3 commissioners. Wow, thank you all for stepping up. All those voting for Commissioner Fields, please raise your hand. Okay. All those voting for Commissioner Kinsick, please raise your hand. And all those voting for Commissioner Sycamore, please raise your hand. Okay, congratulations, Commissioner Fields, your new Community Engagement and Public Safety Chair.
Commissioner Harris, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I think since there's so much interest in that committee, which has not always been the past, which I'm really excited to see, I think maybe I would ask Commissioner Fields to work with the other commissioners about that splitting idea, and just thinking about how to get involved maybe sooner rather than later, just because I think that there is more than enough work to go around, and we definitely want to make sure that we're addressing the important issue. Thank you.
Yeah, that is an excellent point. So definitely Commissioner Kinsick and Commissioner Sycamore, please. I think if we figure out that actually we need to split it sooner rather than later, I think y'all's feedback will be really important in understanding that.
I'm sorry, I dropped out. I couldn't. I didn't hear Commissioner Handerhan's comment. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just saying that we rarely have such interest for this committee in that way, and would like to encourage Commissioner Fields to consider either splitting the two and having chairs of each, and or figuring out a way to make sure everyone can get engaged sooner rather than later. I think we had kind of thought that was going to come several months down the line, but I think we might be able to do it sooner rather than later if there's an interest in the commission doing it that way. Our committees, as I think Commissioner Harris mentioned, this is what we've done in the past, but we have autonomy to create new commissions and change it as we see fit. And I think empowering everyone who wants to be involved in this space would be great.
Okay, next is economic development. And currently Commissioner Handerhan is the chair of that, or was the chair. I would like to nominate Commissioner Handerhan as to continue as chair for economic development. Do you accept?
Yes, but as I'll share in the update, there is a ton of stuff happening with the Reeve Center on a very short timeline. Because I was brought in to, or because I started chairing the committee the last time we did this, I think it makes sense for continuity for me to continue in this role, at least for the next month or two. But that said, I would be very open to passing on the chairmanship to anyone who would like it after the Reeve Center disposition hearing later this month and the role of this committee. So yes, with a caveat. And if someone wants to raise their hand and interest now and we kind of work through it now versus later, it doesn't matter to me.
I think you will remain as Economic Development Committee Chair for the time being, and then we will figure out from there. I think your expertise with your expertise with the Reeve Center, with even just like the remnants of what was happening with Grimkey, I think will be invaluable for the next person to take. So if you can hold on to it for a little bit longer, I think that will also be helpful for the commission. Okay. Congratulations, Commissioner Handerhan. Moving on to transportation. Are there any nominations for transportation chair?
I'd like to nominate myself as transportation chair. Sorry, Commissioner Kinsick, I'll let you go next.
Commissioner Kinsick, did you?
I actually was going to nominate Santiago, so that worked.
Great. Okay, well, congratulations. Next, we have ZPD, so zoning, preservation, and development. Do we have any nominations for that?
I would like to nominate myself for that, please. Thank you.
Okay. I would like to nominate Commissioner Jones.
I accept the nomination.
Great. Okay. All those voting for Commissioner Kinsick, please raise your hand. Okay. All those voting for Commissioner Jones, please raise your hand. Any abstentions? Okay, congratulations, Commissioner Jones. And I really appreciate those who have stepped up and who are not chairing a committee. There is plenty of work to go around. You can certainly be involved with the committees. Just as a note, we do have a lot of conversations and discussions on specific matters related to those committees, and committee members do vote. But they vote to recommend to the commission, which all of the commissioners here have that kind of almost final say. Although we all did take an oath that, we do need to look out for the best interest of the entirety of DC, not just for our direct kind of constituents, but you do ultimately have the vote at the commission. So you can participate in the committees, you can be committee members, and I would encourage you to do so, even though you may not be chair. Okay, Commissioner Ligatos, do you have a question?
Yeah, someone mentioned in the chat, and I double checked to make sure they were right. Our Zoom stream settings are showing in like the speaker view. I checked on the YouTube stream and it's looking that way too. I don't know the way to fix it
Commissioner
necessarily.
Jones, can you check on that? Or I'm happy to take, I think there might have been a disruption. So I transferred hosting duties to Commissioner Jones, but I can, if you want to pass it. Oh, it's back.
I've just restored it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for everyone who notified us. I'm sorry that if you saw some of us one-on-one and that was the only view that you saw. We are still working out any of the technical difficulties that we have. So thank you for your patience and letting us know too. So hopefully we can get through the other matters fairly quickly. So one, we do need to vote on the meeting calendar for the rest of the year. And so typically we have had meetings maybe for the last 10 years on the first Thursday of every month. And we do need to vote on for the entirety of the year. Now, I know that some commissions do have recess in August and or in December. Last term, we did not do that just because one, sometimes it falls where there are liquor license renewals and we need to meet in December. We had, a lot on our plate, I think last year with different developments. But if we decide to have recess, we can vote on that later on. But we do need to agree upon a date, a time and day every month. So do I have a motion for our 2023 meeting calendar?
I move that we approve the 2023 meeting calendar.
There's a specific date, day and time?
Oh, on the first Wednesday of each month. Isn't that the way we've been doing it?
Wednesday or Thursday?
Oh, Thursday, my bad, apologies.
Do you want to start that?
Let me let Commissioner Jones, if it seems like you have a more formulated motion, I'll withdraw.
Thank you. I move that we establish as our regular meeting date the first Thursday of each month, with the exception of if that date is a district holiday the following Thursday. I just don't remember when 4th of July is this year. I'm sorry.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Great. Now, I just want to tell attendees on, and this does differ from previous kind of meetings, and I'm sorry that we are going to try to figure out a way that if you did register for tonight's meeting, that you will be able to, we might be able to carry that over. We just weren't able to publish kind of recurring webinars or recurring meetings without voting on the schedule first. So keep an eye out kind of on your inbox if you do have to re-register. I'm sorry if that's kind of a pain, but it's just how kind of the formalities of what we have to do in scheduling our commission meetings. Commissioners, you will not have to worry about that, but I would encourage you to reach out to your constituents if they did register tonight, if they do have to re-register. Next is to approve the resolution to participate in the ANC Security Fund, approve the $50 fee, approve statements of information, and a new bank signature card. So the security fund is essentially kind of an insurance policy for our kind of money and our bank accounts. And then the signature card is essentially something that all of the executive officers will sign, that, you know, they can sign checks and access our bank account. Everyone should receive access to our bank account to read only. We bank at Industrial Bank. It is not the most high-tech bank, but you will be able to see those things. You won't be able to access the funds, but you will be able to read those funds. But do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
I move to approve the resolution.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, next is approve request for a debit card. We have never had a debit card. I know it's shocking because they're fairly common. There is still, this is almost a formality because this is something that I think we have to work with the OANC on. We are still writing checks, but we use things like Zoom. We use other digital services that require a debit card or credit card. We obviously cannot use a credit card. The previous instances that we have been using commissioners have been using their personal cards and then have been reimbursed by the commission. So we do need to vote that we can request a debit card. That may not happen, but it's still required. So do I have a motion to approve the request for a debit card?
Yeah, I motion to approve the request for a debit card.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Great. And if there are any questions on this, please stop me. I am just trying to get through some of this because it's kind of like housekeeping items. Next is approve the adjusted 2023 budget to reflect adjustments enacted by the DC Council as a result of redistricting. This is essentially kind of our allotments and things. And I'm happy to share kind of the information that we did receive on that. That is, I believe our allotments are online. I need to hunt down the link if there's anyone in the audience that would want to see that. But do I have a motion to approve the adjusted 2023 budget?
I move the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, quickly, what are we doing with I know that because of 1E, there's an allotment coming out of 1B. Do we know the amount of that allotment and what we're going to be left with, and then what our new 1B is going to be getting from, well, we won't know that for a couple months, but do we know at least what 1E is going to be getting from 1B?
We have our allotment numbers and I'm pulling that up right now. But I'm happy to send more kind of information. I'm sorry,
No, that works. That works. Say, we'll just send it whenever, that's whenever you can. That's great.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, I will definitely send that out. I'm not meaning to sound wishy-washy about it, but it's just in my inbox. So apologies for that, Commissioner Kinsick. Okay, next is to approve the monthly contract for an administrative consultant. So we've had this posting up for over a year now, and we have had some interest. Definitely, if there are any community members that you know of who might be interested, please kind of pass the job posting on. We just kind of wanted to reaffirm this posting and kind of the contract that we have available on the website. So do I have a motion?
I move to approve for the administrative consultant.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, so, oh, where's my, go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I just want the community and everyone to know how important this role is. We obviously want to keep it within 1B. It's important. I think that the current 1B and even previous years, they've done their best to have someone, and actually stay with it. But it is really important position. And I think that we could obviously use this to great advantage because currently right now, Commissioner Harris has been doing more than above and besides a secretarial, but actually doing another role on top of that. And it's very difficult to do. So I just ask anyone that's online or anyone that recommends. I think I saw Judy Floyd in the audience before. Maybe she'll want it. Who knows? But just want to say that. Thank you.
Commissioner Handerhan?
Commissioner Kinsick took the words right out of my mouth. I think this is really important. We haven't been successful in filling it for quite a while. So just encourage the commissioners to advertise, and anyone who's on the fence, reach out to us and ask us questions about what this looks like. We also increase the salary to ensure it's a livable wage for the amount of work that we know it's going to be. So really, it's a good opportunity to get involved. Thank you.
Commissioner Sycamore? Oh, you are on mute.
Oh, sorry. Hit the wrong button. I'd like to know, do we have a posting, the link for that posting? And yeah, if we can share that with the audience / us so we can move that about.
We do, and I can share that.
I'll put that in the chat right now.
Sybil, also Commissioner Harris, rather. There was a question: what has been the prior hurdle to filling the role?
I mean, I think honestly, it has been a marketing issue. I think it also has just been a timing issue. We saw a lot in the last term. We saw the Reeves Center. We saw, another large development. There were other issues that I think, unfortunately, the marketing and kind of spreading the word about the position kind of fell lower on the priority list. And then it's always the weird timing nature of, serving as secretary. It was okay, I need to get this done, but it also takes time to spread the word and to try to secure someone in the admin role. So it was just a push and pull. But I think with the new commission and also with some of the returning commissioners that have a little bit more experience under our belts, I think this is something that we will prioritize and hopefully fill very quickly. Okay.
Also, before we take another vote, I did just want to flag the comment in the Q&A about the chair not voting on resolutions.
So typically a chair only votes in ties. So that is why I have refrained from voting.
Thank you. And then there's also an ask for the allotment link, but I think we said that we would send it. So thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay. This one is to approve the expenditure of up to $2,500 for administrative and operational materials such as branded business cards, tent cards, and other marketing materials. So I think, especially on the marketing side, we will need to update things because our commission has changed. And so we will need to update those. We will obviously need to update business cards. That's the explanation behind that. Is there a motion to approve the expenditure?
I move that we approve the expenditure of up to $2,500 for administrative and operational materials.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah. Do you think that 2,500 would be enough? I'm looking at the 9 new commissioners. Just business cards alone. You're looking at $50 to $100 plus the new signatures or signage. That might actually be a little low, to be honest.
So I believe the business cards for 12 commissioners, because we also ordered brand new business cards back in 2021 because we had new branding. I believe it was $800. I don't have access to my previous email. I would have to go look at the financial statements to see, but I'm fairly certain it was $800 for the business cards. We can certainly go up. We can also wait and see and vote on another expenditure item next month if that's the case. Commissioner Sycamore.
Yeah, I also second Alan's, Commissioner Kinsick's concern as well. But on top of that, I know this is $2,500 for the entire commission. However, I'm thinking about specific SMDs. So say, for example, we want to do an alley cleanup for a block or somewhere. Do we have an allotment for each SMD or anything of that nature? Or is it just event by event as needed, if you know what I mean?
I would say it's event by event as needed. I think we have operated pretty frugally, as I think many can see in our fairly outsized, not budget, but how much we have in the bank. I'm forgetting the words, but we can do it event by event. We do have I think commissioners have equipment. Also, I think the mayor's office, the clean team, they do provide, if it's like a cleanup, they do provide materials as well too. But I think we should do it on an event by event basis. But we can increase this expenditure and, just know too that this is, although we're voting on this and this is almost considering kind of potentially for the year, it's not set in stone. So if we do need to increase it, we can certainly increase it.
And
Wonderful. Thank you.
Last thing I'll add is I believe we're carrying over 120,000. Is that correct?
That is correct, but I need to look in my email for that. So that's not a full guarantee. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you. I just have a procedural question. So after we approve the expenditure, what do we need to do, or what does the commission need to do to actually spend the funds? Like, who makes the decision we're going to spend $300 versus $500 on marketing materials?
So what we've done in the past is the secretary has one, and I can absolutely help with this, has put together the business cards, the design of the business cards, and then has sent that over we've used a local print shop. It's a unionized print shop, Basecamp. So we've used their services. I think we're certainly open to other print shops, especially in Ward 1. Unfortunately, I think Basecamp just falls right outside of Ward 1, but they're really close. And I think a lot of us on the commission know them and they do really good work. So we've used them in the past and we can get a quote from them first. We can seek out other quotes. And then we can kind of decide from there. I think we can decide just generally through kind of email. We don't need to vote on the firm that we use because we voted on kind of the budget. And as long as it's in the budget and in the amount in the expenditure, it works. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay.
I would just kind of note, I think these are like great questions and part of where, we've been in the past 2 years with the pandemic posture feels like, we're still in a pandemic, but there's a shift, I think, in people's appetite for in-person engagements. And I think it's a really good opportunity. I would definitely support like more money in this if we think we have a, clear reason to use it. And I think it'd be great for all of us to think about what we haven't had to do in the virtual space that we want to do moving forward. So thanks for everyone for the good discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, next, so there might be a lot of questions on this. We also can potentially defer this to the next meeting if there are further questions on it. We can also ask the previous commissioners about this. I'm happy to send around the link. Sorry, I'm being kind of mysterious. It's on, the next vote is for ABRA Legal Services and a retainer letter. So in December of 2022, so last month, the commission voted on a $30,000 retainer for an attorney to assist on ABRA related matters. So on liquor licenses, settlement agreements, hearings, and whatnot. The commission did vote to move that to the new commission to look at the retainer letter and to approve the retainer letter. Now, I know that there was a lot of questions even last month, but I will say there has been a lot of community feedback in saying that this is really needed, especially with, districts like Commissioner Houlihan's district, my own district. We have a lot of establishments, and there are a lot of renewals still pending. And this could be very helpful, but I also understand the other side that $30,000 is a lot of money. So I can call for a motion, but I would imagine that there could be a lot of questions, or I can also call for a motion to table this to next month, to defer this to next month.
I think deferring it would be good.
Commissioner Sycamore.
Yes, I agree. I think tabling it till next month because I have not had a chance to look at least I haven't seen it yet. I'd like to take a review of that. But just as a side note, I do think that's a great idea. I just want to kind of get the overall details, what's going on. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any risk of losing the lawyer if we wait on the engagement letter?
It's unclear. I mean, I think there's always a risk. But I do not fault any commissioner who would want to table this to the next month to learn more, because it's a lot. Now, I will say the other side of it is that we do have a lot of renewals still pending. So Commissioner Houlihan has a number of mediations scheduled for this month. I have a few mediations scheduled as well. Now I personally feel comfortable navigating some of those. But I think it is up to you all.
It is a big decision, and so I want to defer to the new commissioners. The letters in the agenda packet for people to review. I think my only just kind of caveat is that we've talked about this a lot, and we actually thought we had it locked in for last meeting and agreed to kind of handle it this meeting. I know most of the new commissioners were not, in December's meeting, so seeing the agenda packet was the first time that they saw this, but I do think it's probably the single most important thing we can do to enhance our ability to navigate in that space, and I'm really in support of it, and I appreciate all the work that we've gotten to get to a letter of commitment. It's been pretty hard to find lawyers who want to take this on, and so I think deferring, if we're pretty confident that we're going to be able to maintain this engagement, delaying a month, great. But if there's any risk of it falling apart because of the delay, I'd be really worried because I'm not sure we have a good backup. So that's just my 2 cents.
I am curious, and not to, I'm sorry, Commissioner Lakatos, I am curious to hear from Commissioner Houlihan. I know this is only your 3rd day officially as a commissioner, but as the commissioner in 1B that does have the most, and I think even the most in all of DC, liquor licenses, I would love to hear just like your initial thoughts.
When taking on this position of the ANC, I did definitely have a lot of conversations with people around the community, including those who are involved in liquor license renewals and settlement agreements. And they told me that would be the single biggest part of my position. And they warned me not to take on any other positions, not to focus too much on anything else other than liquor licenses, because I would be drowning in it. So in over the last 2 months, seeing ANC 1B discuss this decision, I found myself agreeing with former Commissioner Eric Bina that how needed this position was, and to have an attorney help us. So, I mean, all that to say, like, I don't want to force a vote on other commissioners who haven't been following this as closely because they don't have the number of liquor licenses in their district and they weren't watching the last 2 ANC meetings. I'm strongly in favor of this, but I totally understand if there are those in this ANC who don't feel comfortable voting on it yet.
I also just saw, sorry, go ahead, Alan.
I was going to say I'm in favor of it completely. It's needed 100%, and I obviously want to help other fellow commissioners and 1B obviously succeed, and it's needed. I just what I brought up last month is you start looking at it without really getting or attaining or trying to retain a counselor. There's set limits, and I almost think like $30,000 is don't want to say the word, but in a bucket, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, so I just want to gauge. I don't really know myself. I know that there is a lot in 1BO2. I just want to understand what we're retaining for and how long it's going to last, or how long, if it's a year, or if it's 3 months, it's 6 months. And that's really what my question is. But I am full support of it. I think that it's needed 100%. I agreed with Eric Bana on that. And also agree with those on the panel now.
And
just for the record, I want to just acknowledge that there was a comment in the chat from the former ABR chair that it isn't a matter of losing the lawyer if we don't deal with it now. It's just a matter of how quickly their services can be onboarded. And so I feel much more comfortable punting, just knowing that that's the case, and I will volunteer myself to support John and others on liquor licenses in the interim, so that people can get comfortable with the contract.
I think just as a note here, and thank you, Eric, for commenting in here. So Commissioner Kensek, to your question on, how long, I think
saw, yeah.
Until the 30K is used up. And so if at that point we can certainly vote to add more, if we think that it's beneficial. I will say that sometimes it kind of fluctuates depending on the time of year. Right now, we're kind of in the midst of it. So I would imagine that we will use a fairly larger chunk. And then towards kind of like middle of this year, it's not going to be as needed, knock on wood, unless there's just some huge influx of establishments terminating settlement agreements and whatnot. And then Eric also stated, essentially retaining them is like a general counsel for ABRA matters. So it can be everything from helping us to negotiate settlement agreements, because that is sometimes a difficulty of trying to predict if something is, or not predict, but knowing if something is legal or not, understanding what we can push back on, what we can add to add that layer of accountability. That I will say, unless there are any currently serving attorneys on, it is hard to kind of identifying that. It's also someone can help us in terms of representing us at the protest hearings, which those may come up, the full protest hearings that happen. And sometimes, one of the first things that we had a full protest hearing at the start of Commissioner Handerhan and I's term in 2021, and it would have been helpful if we had an attorney helping us there that we didn't have. So I think, based on, the work that Commissioner Bina has done, and then just the retainer letter itself and being a part of the ABR committee and knowing what you have on your plate, Commissioner Houlihan, I am supportive of this retainer.
Yeah, and I'm also supportive now at this point. I would just say that maybe just in general, the commission as a whole may need counsel. That might be something we should look at as well for other matters. So just putting out there. But I would vote yes. It's obviously needed. It makes sense, but it's just something we should look at. And I'd also like to make it noted that any attorney fees or retainers, I also would definitely like to take a look at and see what they're charging and billing and all that good stuff. Thank you.
Just a note too, we can expand the scope. However, we do want to be clear on what they are representing us on, because if it is a matter where if anything comes to us and someone is suing us as a commission or something, the OAG would actually be representing us because we are a DC government office. But they do not represent us on ABRA matters. So that is just one kind of point of clarity. But I think what we need to go ahead and do is there is another community comment from an ABR committee member, Eileen. She mentioned, I would love to see a vote to proceed tonight, sorely needed, beyond urgent, but particularly useful in the transition of Commissioner Houlihan, and welcome. Looking forward to your leadership succeeding Eric. So I think we do need a motion for this. So do we have a motion?
I'll move motion.
I'll second.
What, apologies, Commissioner Sycamore, what are you moving?
The motion to the ABRA Legal Services and Retainer Letter approval.
Okay.
Yes.
Bravo.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay. So just as a confirmation, we are signing this retainer letter. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that is clear. Okay. So reports and action items. So before we get started, because we have newly elected committee chairs, when I do get to your committee, I think what could be helpful is any sort of insights that you may have and you may not have any on dates for kind of the next meetings. Any other updates that you may have, maybe a quick snippet of what is to come, your vision for the committee. If you know of any SMDs that need to fill committee member slots, please add that in. But I also realize that we have a whole batch of newly elected committee chairs. So first, public safety and community engagement, Commissioner Fields.
Hi, I just wanted to first start by saying that I represent the area of U Street between 14th Street and 18th Street. So as you all know, there's a lot of action. It gets really lively, especially on the weekends, Friday nights. And so for me, it is a priority to maintain public safety in that area and just working with constituents to make sure that they feel heard and protected, especially during those times. In addition to that, with community engagement, I am looking to further engage the youth in the community as well as seniors that live in the area and plan events that help with community service across my district and the ANC 1B as a whole. As far as an update on the next meeting time, I'm not really sure if this month would be, is that what we're looking for this month or maybe next month?
It is up to you.
Okay, probably before the end of before January ends, I would like to have a meeting just to gauge how many people are interested in being involved with the committee. And so I would work alongside Commissioner Allen and Commissioner Jamie to just discuss a time that works best for all of us. And hopefully maybe we can meet before then just to see all of our goals come to life and how we can make that happen. If you guys wanted to share anything about your ideas or objectives, I would love to hear that now as
Commissioner Fields, well said. I'm a big advocate of public safety. I think that's the biggest concern in DC, to be honest with you. I've had a great opportunity to work with Chairwoman Gal, who works with the 3D CAC and has a great rapport with them. So we could take it offline, Commissioner Fields, Commissioner Sycamore, and myself. And I know I hope to expect that Chairwoman Gal will also be speaking at some point, just to let us aware to second the what I had sent out yesterday, just upcoming events and really getting the police engagement and working with the local constituents and people. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I didn't know if Commissioner Jamie wanted to add anything either.
No, I second everything Alan just said. Thank you.
And Commissioner Fields, will this information be on the website when the meeting is set?
Yes, we will add it to the website.
Great. Anything else?
No, that's all.
Thank you. Okay, ZPD, Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair Harris. So I'll start with talking about the committee and our next meetings, and then I'll ask Commissioners Harris and Handerhan to briefly present on some business that was left for us by the previous commission. My understanding is that the practice of the ZPD in the previous term was to meet on the third Monday of every month. There are already members, longer standing members of that committee than I am. And so my instinct is to keep it to that. Again, with the exception that if that date falls on a district holiday, to kick it to the following week. So that'll be third Monday of each month, except in holidays, it'll be the 4th. That will be put on the website as soon as I get access to it. Also, I'd like to make a call for community members who have relevant experience or interest. There is a huge variety of interest and expertise that are needed on this committee, and all are welcome. I am not currently sure of the makeup by single member district, but I'm excited to have more community members join that committee. So all that being said, Commissioner Harris, I think you have something to say about, I'm sure you've had a lot to say about 1250 U Street. Would you like to say a little more?
Sure. And I do want to note that Mr. Patrick Nelson is in the audience, and he was our former ZPD community chair. He is absolutely wonderful. And I'm sure if you reached out to him, he would help provide kind of any other insights and information to pass along. So I can pass along his email address to reach out to him.
Thank you. I know that the previous committee greatly benefited from his expertise. I'm sad for us that we're losing it, and I hope that he continues to use that expertise in his new commission area.
Agreed. So for 1250 U Street, so this is not a new project. This is a planned unit development, which essentially is a developer can seek different zoning relief in exchange for kind of community benefits. Now, this was very heavily discussed at the previous kind of commission. I think total we spent both Patrick and I and the developers and the community spent around 100+ hours on this project. And so what we will be doing tonight is just a kind of reaffirmation. It did pass last month. So again, we wanted to flag it for the new commission. They are appearing in front of the zoning committee. They have, I believe it's their hearing date in March. The development team is, someone on the development team is on. Nate, if you wanted to say anything, please raise your hand. But I am simply seeking kind of a reaffirmation from the new commissioners to approve this. As I stated, this was very heavily discussed. This is not a kind of overnight thing. I'm happy to share other information, but it did pass with, I think, all of the commissioners' support last term. So I am not seeing anything.
Just real quickly, I definitely look forward to working with you, Commissioner Jones, very closely. I have a background with construction from Manhattan, also here in DC. I work with DOB here in DC, and just have a history in terms of LED, LEED, all that. So I think with Patrick, yourself, myself, we'll get through it. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kinsick. I appreciate your expertise as well, and I'm sure that all of us will be relying on that as well.
So we did have a cue or something from Mr. Nelson. Maybe Patrick, if you can say just like a couple things kind of on the project. Can you raise your hand so then Commissioner Jones? There we go. See, we can't go without any meetings without Patrick speaking. There we go.
Okay.
Wait, he's back? Oh.
Can you hear me?
We can.
I actually debated long and hard whether I was going to sign on to the meeting tonight or not. I figured I would get sucked into saying something, but I figured it at least give you some. So as Sable said, this project that we're talking about now took a lot of time and effort. Anyone who has any experience at all with PUDs knows that it's not an easy project. It requires a whole lot of input from community members. It requires a lot of work with the developer and trying to understand their project, to understand what the community wants, and negotiate benefits that are going to be important to the project as well as the community. I am very proud to say that we have worked through a lot of yelling, screaming meetings, got real productive communication out of this. This is not my first run around the laps. I've done this many, many times, so I had at least experience in doing it. And we were able to negotiate above and beyond the tertiary benefits that come out of the project, in excess of $650,000 worth of real hard benefits that are going to affect the surrounding community. So as Sable said, this was based on my input, her input, and the developers. We wanted the old commission to vote on it since we had done all of the legwork there. But then in connection with the development team itself, they were highly concerned that because their hearing is not until March of this year, they were concerned that the zoning commission might say, well, a new commission has come in, you need to go back and ask them what they think about this. So to circumvent that happening, we discussed having this come before you guys now and basically just re-blessing what has already been blessed. I certainly can answer any questions if anyone has questions about specifics, but there's a lot of data that Sable can show. If you go online, you can read the whole PUD and see what's in there. And they just set in their set down report, so that's kind of current. Everything is moving smoothly forward. Tentative date for the hearing is March. And I fully expect that there will be a number of community members that will participate in that meeting to put in their 2 cents worth.
Thank you, Patrick.
Can I just ask for Patrick's phone number, please?
It's unlisted.
Come on, Patrick. We could talk offline. We could talk offline.
Yeah. Send me an email, Alan, and I'll gladly let you.
Commissioner Jones, I do see Nate Class, who is a part of East Bank. He did raise his hand to also speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I will be brief. I just want to once again thank the ANC for their continued work with us on this project. I said it last month when the ANC voted to support the project, that this project has been through many community meetings, but with each meeting the project has improved, and the project is a better overall project now because of the engagement with the ANC. So we are very thankful for the continued participation and support of the community. I am happy to answer any questions if anyone has any. Just in hearing Patrick speak, I did want to quickly point that we received confirmation today that our zoning commission hearing date was set for March 16th. It's a Thursday at 4 p.m. I will be advertising that hearing date on our website. The project website is 1250ustreet.com. So all of the project information, past plans, updates about the project are all there at 1250ustreet.com. And I'll be posting this hearing date there tomorrow. So we look forward to that hearing and hopefully seeing this PUD continue to progress.
Thanks, Nate.
Just for clarity, this is the building that is on U Street, just where the DPR building is, right? Or the office is, correct?
Yes, it is
Okay.
yeah, it's where the metro station is, and then
Yes.
the alley kind of behind there, the Temperance Garden.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, Jen, it was DPR, the old DPR.
And we did have a question, is that redevelopment going to increase the height of the property? Yes, it is. Okay, Commissioner Jones.
Sorry, I have a motion. To
Go ahead.
Okay. I move that the ANC support the previous ZPD committee recommendation and support the PUD and proposed benefit proffer.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Thanks all.
Tucker, do you want me to introduce the next?
I was about to ask you to introduce that, please. Thank you.
Great. This is definitely less of a big deal after the 1250 U Street conversation. So I'll make it quick. Folks may know the former Hall Brothers Funeral Home on U Street. It was a long-serving institution that closed a few years ago. The proposal that you have before you today is strictly from the historic preservation perspective, which is of course really important to both LaJoy Park and 1B overall. It is going to be turned into a 7-unit apartment building. The development team has talked. There was a lot of history here around process, but it's all been worked out. If people are curious about the specific sticking points, myself or Patrick can definitely walk you through them. They're adding a 3rd story, they're adding a basement. This adds density and housing to the neighborhood, which we definitely need, keeping the facade the same and fixing it up. It's in really bad shape. It's deteriorated over time. There are some concerns about the height of the building in the alley and the railing on the roof, as well as trash placement, but they've come to our ZPD meeting twice to talk about this, and the community is very satisfied where this is. So I recommend that the full ANC support this. I'm happy to make a motion or turn it back to you. All right, I move that the full ANC supports the project at 621 Florida Ave Northwest as it relates to historic preservation.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Pardon, Chair Harris, I saw there was one raised hand in the audience. I wanted to make sure that that gets recognized.
Yes, it is Mr. Nelson.
Sorry to interrupt your vote, but I just wanted to give explanation to the new commission of this is a prime example of how committee work and community involvement is very important in connecting the dots. Larry and I at the hearing that the developer tried to squeak himself into the HBRB hearing due to technicalities on how they hear cases. We actually testified in front of the hearing, which I have advocated since I started as a chair of this committee to get community members to do that. And we're highly successful in getting them to be able to come back so that you guys in this commission have a chance to vote on something that the developer was trying to get pushed through without any ANC input on at all. So this is a kudos to Larry for testifying. And it's also a kudos to the implication of involvement in community members to testify on behalf of certain things in front of the district agencies. They do listen and they do take to heart, and it's really important for people to understand that. That's my final statement.
Well said, Patrick.
So we have a motion and we have a second. Let me go ahead and let's re-vote on this. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, thank you.
I was in favor for that. Sorry about that.
Okay. Next, economic development. Commissioner Handerhan.
Sure. Sorry, we already talked about the next meeting of ZPD. Is that right, Tucker? I just want to make sure we didn't skip that. Okay.
Yeah, so sorry, just let me reiterate that since you brought it up. Third Thursday of each month. If it's a holiday, fourth Thursday, for third Monday of each month. If it's a holiday, fourth Monday of each month. We will update the website to clarify that.
Thank you. Economic development. There's a decent amount happening with this committee. I just want to start by thanking all the members from the community and the ANCs who've joined us for the past couple sessions to talk about everything that's going on. I look forward to working with this commission to probably improve how we share status updates about different projects. I think for the benefit of new commission members, just want to reiterate that historically the scope of this committee first and foremost is on properties that are owned by the district that are going through the disposition process. And so there are a number of them in 1B looking backwards and a number coming up, and one that is coming up very quickly is the redevelopment of the Reeve Center. There's a lot of history here, so bear with me briefly, but the Reeve Center, which is at the corner of U and 14th, is currently has a number of district offices. They're not particularly constituent servicing type offices. Some are for sure, and there's also a post office and a couple other LGBTQ centers, really important community establishments there, farmers market on the weekends. The district is going through, as I mentioned, a disposition process. They put out an RFP back in 2020. They asked for community input. We gave it. We had a series of meetings. They narrowed it down to 2 developers. We grilled the developers. We put together spreadsheets to talk about how their plans differed and were similar. There's a lot of information available online about that process and how it went. And I know I've shared that information with the incoming commissioners, and happy to share with anyone who is interested. I think the most important thing to know moving forward is that DEMPED, which is the agency that oversees property dispositions like this, decided to reissue the RFP. They did that on December 2nd with applications being due January 20th, and they have scheduled a new disposition hearing on January 26th from 6:30 to 9:30 at the DC Housing Finance Agency building, 815 Florida Ave Northwest. They reissued the RFP for a couple of reasons, primarily because the scope had changed over the course of the many years that they had originally done this. More offices or functions that they thought were going to live in the site, which is in Commissioner Field's district, I should note, no longer need to be there. This is infrastructure stuff, including DDOT traffic control functions. And so now the property is, more of the property is available for developers to develop. While that's good, it is frustrating to a lot of us who felt like we have been here before and seen this. So the plan over the next couple weeks is going to be really focused on working with DEMPED, making sure there's strong presence from the community at the January 26th meeting. We've already gotten notification of it from DEMPED, and I'll reiterate after this meeting with the commissioners. I'll put together a email that you can share with your constituents. We'll blast it in the new newsletter. Tucker, I can work with you on that to make sure that we have good attendance, because the 26th, what this means is we're going to hear from developers that submitted proposals 6 days earlier, and we're going to be asked as a commission to vote on a recommendation that goes for great weight to DEMPED. So there's a couple ways that we would do this. It's going to be a very truncated timeline, and what I'm proposing is that we use the kind of foundational resolution that we passed back in 2020 about what we'd like to see at the site, and then do some quick turn after we hear the presentations from the developers on the 26th, and probably schedule our own meeting with the constituents who are interested in this issue, and get a sense of what we like and what we don't like about each development plan. We can't really start from scratch because the timeline. And in case I wasn't clear, DEMPED is hoping that we will actually vote on a resolution next committee meeting, which we just decided is going to be the first Thursday of February. And so we're not going to be able to do necessarily everything we'd want to do, but I think we should work within the constraints that we have to articulate a few things. And I can talk about what this has looked like in the past, and then I'll open it up to questions. I already see one. So it's not our role to necessarily say we like this development, this bid or this bid. What we should do is look at all the bids that have come in, ask tough questions, help to understand what the differences are between them, and state our preferences for different components of what ends up in the final design. So when we did this before was we took the two bids that DEMPED got on the first when the RFP was first open, and we said we like this part of the housing plan, we don't like this, but we like this other program for its community development work. We like this part of the arts overlay plan, but we'd like to see more environmentally friendly strategies in the development of this building. So it's kind of like a way for us to channel what we're hearing from the community into something that can be actionable for DEMPED. I'm sure I'm missing things. This is not there's no like community benefits agreement like with 1250 U Street. So it's a bit of a different process there, but it's critically important that we advertise the 26th meeting. And we are going to be scheduling a meeting of the Economic Development Committee on the 12th of January so that we can get our ducks in a row ahead of the 26th. And work with you all to make sure that we have a plan to get community input on a very truncated timeline. The one good thing about the timeline before I turn to questions is that DEMPED expects the timeline to actually almost exactly mirror the original timeline because they have quote unquote fast tracked this project. We also have a representative from DEMPED in the audience, and Patrick Smith, and might ask you, Patrick, to correct anything that I have misstated, but I will field a few questions in the interim. I saw Commissioner Lakatos first.
Yeah, first was more of just a kind of like a request. I know when I was a member of as a volunteer of the Economic Development Committee, we put together a resolution at the end of our process. I couldn't find that as a shareable link on the website. I'm not sure if I know we have it, it's in my email, but I would think that would be beneficial to share the final work that we did in that initial RFP review process. And this might be more of a question for, Patrick Smith of DEMPED, not for now, but we can take it offline, is if the ANC and the Economic Development Committee will be able to see the RFP submission information in a similar way that we were able to at least see that during the committee process. And also specifically, I know we put together a pretty detailed set of questions that I think were really important to our decisions and recommendations about, unit size, public space, affordability levels, percentages, all those, that information that wasn't initially contained. And I'm wondering if we would be able to get at least some of that information ahead of time, because I think that's a really critical part of whatever the recommendations we make, even if we have a truncated process.
Just to quickly note, apologies, Commissioner Hanrahan. So the resolution that I think was included was actually one in 2020, and that was done before we had seen kind of the proposals. So that was done by the commission before the last commission. We do have the final one from 2021. It is just a matter of hunting it down through our inboxes. Unfortunately, some of us, mostly I think just me, because I have a new SMD, I cannot access my historical emails. So just bear with some of us as we get that. And then
can I just quickly, Sable? So I think, I don't know where my video went. If the request is I think the request is to post both resolutions that we did online. I think only the first one's posted online, so I'll work with Tucker on that. That's all public. Yep.
I think it is posted because it at least is in an agenda packet, but it's a matter of finding that. But then it's also finding that resolution of where it is. So, but there are two. And then just one final note for commissioners it was helpful when we went through the process before, is that in the RFP, it is long, but if you want kind of a quick summary of kind of the preferences that DMPED is looking for, you can find that on page 8 and 9. So that's always just like a nice thing to quickly scroll through. And I can include the link here. Apologies for kind of chiming in there.
Thank you. I just want to be careful, making sure that we're acknowledging the constituents on the call and watching. We're using a lot of acronyms that I know that when I started almost a year ago now, I did not understand, and I had to go back and look. So we might want to just keep that in mind for the first couple of meetings when we're saying DMPED and MOKers and all that good stuff. More so, what's important is Reeves is huge. Everyone knows this. You know, when I moved here, you know, that I was taught of the history. I actually worked in the Reeves Center for 2 years, and you know, it has a lot of history. It built a lot of businesses around the area, so there's a lot of constituents that live here that are really upset about it in moving on. I know there's the mayor is happy. I know that there's a lot of good things coming in. You know, I'm not saying it's a bad thing that's going to happen, but I do encourage majority of the 8, if at least 6 of us who really are in the immediate area of the Reeves, to work hand in hand with Commissioner Hanrahan and you know, just DMPED and asking questions and not feeling rushed, because we're going to be held on our dime, on our watch, whatever decision or great way we put forth. So just keep that in mind. That's all. Thank you.
I think all great points. There are a couple other updates, you know, for the Economic Development Committee, but this is definitely the most important issue. So if there are people who want to weigh in and have questions from the community, I'd love to be able to take a few minutes with that, if you don't mind, Chair Harris.
Yes, let's keep it to a couple of minutes, because certainly want to also make sure that, you know, knowing that people will have time during kind of the Economic Development Committee meetings. So this is not the final thing you'll hear about it, even though this is a very expedited process. I'm not seeing anything unless. So I think we can go ahead and move on. But again, I'll stress that this is not the last time that you'll hear about the Reeves Center. So
great, thank you so much. Two housekeeping items before turning it over to transportation. The first is we also got a presentation recently about the district's 600 T Street Task Force, which is a series of agencies coming together to focus on the 600 block of T Street. This was in my SMD until this week and is now in Commissioner Houlihan's SMD. That is a set of issues that connect a lot of different committees and work and interest in the neighborhood. So there's been a lot of challenges with drug dealing in the area, which is both a human service and kind of intervention set that's needed, as well as a public safety intervention set that's needed. There's also some concerns about, you know, how to improve the built environment there. And the Mayor's Office of Nightlife is really focused on this because there are businesses there that it's impacting their ability to function. So we want to keep businesses like Right Proper and a new establishment that came in on that block just in the past couple of weeks. And so that's something that I know Commissioner Helena and I will be working on. I'll be supporting him as he works on that moving forward. But I just thought it was a good example of like district agencies coming together in a regular cadence to try to solve some tough problems. The proof will be in the pudding, but so far there's been some good movement on how we can improve that block And then, as I mentioned, our meeting is going to be January 12th this month at 6:30. All are welcome. In the future, we'll probably keep it on the third Thursday of every month. So it'll be 2 weeks after this full commission meeting, but I will confirm that in the February meeting. Also looking for returning members to return and new members to express their interest. I'll drop my email in the chat. Thank you.
I think I'm seeing a question. Commissioner Handerhan, is there any update or progress on 17th and U for third district and FEMS?
Such a great question. So there are the next disposition that's going that's kind of on the committee's radar is going to be that property at 1617U. Another huge property also in Commissioner Field's district. We've already connected on that a little bit with Commissioner Harris, who was tracking it from her closeness in her previous SMD. But that is a site that was in a different ANC and has moved into 1B's jurisdiction just this past week. I don't have any updates at this time, except that we are waiting for further movement from the deputy mayor for planning and economic development to get back to us about the plans for the site. So no news, but we will definitely keep folks updated, and including posting updates on our website. I will also drop a link into the chat that has DemPeds, which is the deputy mayor's office that handles this. They have a portal for every disposition property, and so you can go and see any updates they have there. That's all I have.
And I would encourage folks to attend our Economic Development Committee meeting. They are certainly a little bit closer to kind of the updates than kind of the monthly commission meeting. So if you would like to be a part of that, you certainly should join it. Transportation.
Sure. So to start, I reached out to the remaining to the members of the Transportation Committee from the last term. So I'm waiting to hear back on those members who are still in 1B. Some I know have been redistricted out. I'm also looking for any new and interested community members. I will drop my email in the chat. We've had a lot of really good community input throughout throughout our last period. I was community chair, if someone is interested in taking on that role. It's a great role. I'm thinking we're probably going to continue to meet the second Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m., which is when we normally met. Obviously, if it's a holiday, then the third Wednesday of the month. This month's meeting would be next Wednesday, which is the 11th at 7 p.m. And I will, once we get the website, we'll post it on the website. Our first meeting, usually in the year, we started this last year, is just sort of an info collaboration session, asking for members of the committee as well as community members to come discuss transportation issues that they I think are relevant for the year. We actually worked on and wrote a lot of resolutions based off of that January 2022 session, so I'm looking forward to that conversation. I know there is a lot of interest in the 11th Street bike lane between S and Florida. I'm planning on having that resolution and sort of a discussion on that at our February meeting. I want to get the committee kind of set up and off the ground before we work on that specific segment, and gives us a little bit more time now that we're settled with the commission to do some more outreach to residents and interested parties. Let's see what else. This is sort of a related note, the Ready to Play plan, which is DPR's master plan for different parks and recreation facilities, was released. It's due for comment at the end of the month. We probably won't have time to comment as a commission, but I will drop the link in the chat, and I would encourage anyone with interest to submit comments. It's a long report, but there's a lot of stuff relevant to us, including like repurposing, parts of street space for recreation and public space, working on the different rec centers, transferring parts of MPS land to DPR. There's a lot of stuff, and we have rec centers in 1B, and I know they're a really important community resource, so I'd encourage people to take a look. This is sort of a question Madam Chair. Our committee has jurisdiction over like parks and public space as well as transportation. I was wondering if it might be in order to change the name to like transportation and public space, and if in order to do that we would need to change the bylaws, or I didn't know what if there was a rule change that would need to be done in order to modify that. I just think it's sort of like a symbolic thing in order to kind of also people to understand that that's also something it does. You know, if they want to come to us with issues like that.
Yeah, we would have to update our standard operating procedures to kind of expand that. We can certainly change the name. I think it's something that I know that Vice Chair Handerhan is looking at, and we'll share around kind of any updates to our SOPs, our code of conduct, and any bylaws that we will certainly look at that kind of more closely and vote on it probably next month. But that's what we would need to update. And just as a kind of formal note, and this doesn't minimize kind of committee chairs or committee member work. So each commission is set up kind of differently. Committees aren't legally required. Those are more so they're very much volunteer kind of roles. We have set up 1B, and our predecessors have set up these committees to, one, be more engaged with the community, to be more productive and efficient at our meetings. So then we can dive deeper into kind of the different topic areas like transportation or public space or kind of these projects. So that's why we have those, but other commissions might not even have a ABR committee, or they might not even have a transportation committee. So what is done at the committee level is not technically formal, or I guess legal. What is done at the commission meeting and voted on here, this is kind of the official kind of vote. So that's why we would change our kind of standard operating procedures. Don't quote me on this. We may have to update something slightly in the bylaws, but I don't believe that that's there. But just to note that anything that's done in a committee is not technically valid or legal until it's brought to the commission to vote on. And again, not to minimize anyone's work on the committee, because y'all, the committee members, truly volunteers. Not that we aren't, but it is out of the goodness of wanting to engage and to be involved. So, Commissioner Handerhan.
You said it very well, Commissioner Harris. Our bylaws and our SOPs are both on the website. Now that I'm vice chair, I think part of my job should be working with this group to make sure that those reflect our kind of interest in as a new committee. The bylaws are very high level. There is a section, Article 7, on committees that just talk about the difference between standing committees and special committees. We would not have to change the bylaws to add or subtract a committee, but we would have to vote this group to make those changes. The SOPs have a lot of really helpful instructions for how committees can and should work for 1B. That is something we can definitely change, but I think I would just encourage people to take a look at it. And if anyone's interested in a bylaws review or helping update the SOPs and would like to huddle before our next meeting, please let me know. I don't know that I will be able to conduct a full bylaws review in the next month with everything going on, but it is my hope that we can update the code of conduct, the bylaws, and the SOPs in the first couple months of 2023, and would like that to be a transparent process with anyone who wants to do it with me.
Thank you. So ABR, Commissioner Houlihan, and just a note, we did have an addition to the agenda to this section, and it's in my SMD. So I know that that was about 2 hours ago when we talked about that. So
great. Well, obviously, as I just inherited this, my biggest project is filling this ABR committee with new members. We lost a couple through redistricting, members who are no longer on the ANC. So same as everyone else, I'd like to, folks who are currently on this ANC, who are currently serving ABR, if you'd like to stay on board, I'd love that. If anyone else from 1B would like to serve on this, obviously great. I know Sable, you're gonna have your hands full, but would appreciate your help, even if you're not serving on it. And I'll reach out to those folks who are currently on as well. So other than that, I know that meetings are currently held the third Wednesday of the month. I might as well go ahead and carry that on. It seems to have worked with current members. So we'll just go ahead and keep that going. I'm not sure if there's anything else I should go over. Again, I didn't even think I'd be preparing this until last night.
That is okay. You do have a lot coming up. So there are 3 items that we do need to vote on. The first, and I'm just slotting the one that I raised earlier on, but I do have 2. So if you want me to discuss those, I'm happy to chime in. And then you do have one in here as well.
Yeah, you can go ahead and take yours, the 2 of yours first.
Okay, well, the first one is, I think, fairly easy. It is, we will be voting on amendments to a settlement agreement. This is a settlement agreement with Cloak and Dagger. This is simply changing kind of some of the scheduling on trash, opening up so that they might be interested in kind of a compactor kind of for this alley. There's a lot of establishments kind of over here. It's on kind of the corner of 13th, or not 13th, it's 14th and U. The address is 1359. And the other amendments are also about kind of the line queuing, because the sidewalk is pretty narrow. So we had previously discussed about potential queuing in the alley. Now they're still pending things in terms of maybe discussing with DDOT. I have an email that just people were out of office because of the holidays. But there is discussion around that of, potentially a line queue in the alley, since the front of the building is very, very narrow. But it is our standard template. Their settlement agreement was most recently updated in 2020. So this is just additions that with the new establishments that have come in the last year to add and make sure we have that in the agreement and keeping it kind of up to date. But I will send kind of those amendments around. But with that, I move that the ANC support and approve the amendments for the settlement agreement with Cloak and Dagger at 1359 U Street.
Second.
Discussion.
Point of order. Do we vote on these amendments individually?
No, we can vote on them all at once.
Okay, I just have one concern with the queuing in the alley as far as safety is concerned. I know that alley gets pretty dark at night. Is there any possibility of getting more lights in there, or talking to whomever we need to about that?
So sorry, and I'm looking over because I face the alley, so I can see it. It's actually pretty well lit, surprisingly. But they have agreed to that if they do have queuing in the alley, that they will also station a security guard that they normally have up front at that alley corner.
So there would be 2 security guards then? So one in the front, one towards the alley?
So it's actually a pretty kind of tight space that there's enough purview with kind of where the door is. I'm not doing the best job at describing it, but like the door is right here and the corner of the alley is right here, that if they put the security guard, they would still be able to monitor both.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
And I will say I'm fairly, I need to, again, it's been a bit frustrating. The placard is in my previous inbox. And so it's hard for me to look, but I'm fairly certain the total occupancy here is also 99 people. So we're not foreseeing, I think, a huge line. All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, thank you. And really great questions. Something else to note too, that so with different protests and settlement agreements, for settlement agreements, we do need to vote on those as a commission. But in terms of withdrawing protest, and sometimes even just with general time frame, we do delegate that if the commissioner who represents that SMD, they are the main kind of point of contact, and they can withdraw kind of different protest. So that's just a note that if you do have an establishment, and if there is like a hard time frame, that's something that we can certainly discuss. But you are the representative to kind of handle that and to also negotiate those settlement agreements and things. Okay, so the next one is a new establishment. And this one is interesting. And we are potentially voting to protest, which we do typically protest new establishments. As you know, it's just a kind of fair standard that we carry, especially if it's an establishment of this size. So it is Sports and Social. It's at 1314 U Street. It's in the old Smith space. This establishment, it's certainly going to be pretty big. They are also applying for I think it's a sports gambling license, which this would be the second in 1B. The second in my SMD. The first one is at Ben's Next Door. And we did vote to, the previous commission did vote to support that. But this one, you know, we do need to establish a settlement agreement. They are seeking a entertainment endorsement for the inside. They also are potentially, or they are seeking a sidewalk cafe endorsement. So this will come in front of transportation when they do file everything in TOPS. And apologies, I don't know what the acronym for TOPS is. It's transportation related with DDOT. But this is, again, a fairly sizable one. We had a discussion at the ABR committee. It is also a chain, so this isn't their first kind of time establishing this. There is a Sports and Social, I think, in Bethesda, and then the other closest one maybe in Pittsburgh, I think. Oh, thank you. Transportation online permitting system. But we do need to protest this to make sure that we have a seat at the table to negotiate for a settlement agreement. Are there any questions or any community members who have questions on this? Commissioner Sycamore?
Just a quick question on the, you said they're also applying for outdoor space. Does that include a streetery as well?
No, so they are seeking a sidewalk cafe. So it's a sidewalk cafe endorsement. I don't believe there are streetery endorsements. I think we do talk about some of those in settlement agreements. It's a bit of a murky process still. But that's like the formal thing. So you know how the Smith had kind of that like slightly indoor / outdoor like seating. I don't think they're envisioning kind of the same kind of roll up windows, but they did discuss kind of, I think there's like 40 something seats like outside, if not more. But that's the formal endorsement that they're seeking from ABRA. I did see a comment in the chat about chains. Someone not interested in having chains moving to the area. I hear that. We certainly want to support local businesses, especially small businesses. I know how hard it is. I also know on the flip side of the coin of having spaces that have been vacant for years. So it's a difficult matter, but we unfortunately don't review that. We review kind of the liquor license. Okay. So I move that the full ANC protest the new license application for sports and social based on peace, order, and quiet in all applicable grounds.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay. Thank you. And I definitely encourage commissioners and community members especially to attend our ABR meetings. We have a very, very busy commission. Some of our SMDs, may not have establishments, but, that's not how people move. People move throughout, not knowing kind of if one SMD has an establishment or not. So your involvement, especially in talking with community members on how they feel about different establishments coming, if they, especially positive feedback, I think that's really important because that sets the tone for other establishments. But please get involved. It's an important time because it's also renewal season, as we will see with Commissioner Houlihan's district.
Thanks for that. Next up, we have Posh Lounge, 1924 9th Street. It's a new Class C tavern license. The ABR committee asked us to protest this based upon the just sheer proliferation of liquor licenses in the area, potential noise and traffic issues. This was a motion passed and approved 7-0 to protest. If there's anyone who's currently on who would like to speak to this, who's on the ABR committee, more than happy to have you speak to this. Okay, hearing none. Obviously I wasn't there, but it's passed unanimously 7-0. I'd like to honor that vote by making a motion to protest.
Commissioner Houlihan, just because we have had prior experience in this, could you please read the full motion based off of the ABR committee recommendation?
Sure. Motion to have the full ANC protest the new liquor license application for Posh Lounge based on peace, order, quiet, trash concerns, parking concerns, over concentration of liquor licenses and all applicable grounds.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand that area in particular. We already have tons and tons and tons of bars. We're doing this mostly for the fact of the noise. Is that what we're protesting this on?
It's a new license application.
Okay.
They didn't have a former license then before?
No, so this is a brand new establishment.
There's been a lot of concern by folks in that area. They're actually trying to, excuse me, I'm new at this, but I'm trying to remember the word for having a moratorium on liquor licenses in that area. So this is part of that process, especially with Frank Chauvin, who's on ABR committee, protesting this new establishment.
Understood. I have my support.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, Executive Council Member, Commissioner and Community Announcements, Office of the Mayor, Mr. Allen.
Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. Finally made it. Congratulations to all of the new commissioners. I do see a lot of new faces here. I have a few updates from you guys. Give me 1 second. All right. I do want to start with letting everybody know, which you probably already know, the historical third term election from Madam Mayor Bowser. I just wanted to put that out there, you know, just in case anybody didn't get that message, just put that out there, all right? I want to talk about the living wage as of January 1st, 2023. In accordance with the Living Wage Act of 2006, living wage in the District of Columbia will increase to $16.50 starting January 1st. And on July 1st, 2023, the minimum wage will increase to $17, triggering an increase to living wage for non-tip workers to the same rate. The increase is due to provisions of the amendment that tie DC's minimum wage to consumer price index. So I just wanted to put that on you guys' radar, as well as coverage for medically necessary foods. As of January 1, 2023, any health benefit plan issued after December 31st, 2022 must provide coverage for the cost of medically necessary food ordered as necessary by provider for a number of diseases or conditions. I do have further insight and more information on that. Feel free to reach out to me at any point. I'll put my information in the chat before I get out of here. Want to touch on the battery recycling program as well. Started January the 1st. The district will continue to make progress towards safe and responsible disposal of batteries, which can contain metals harmful to the environment and toxins to humans and animals. In 2022, battery producers were required to safely recycle batteries. And as of August 1st, 2023, consumers will be able to dispose of primary or rechargeable batteries in the district through battery recycling programs and other approved means. Got that. I just got a couple more. Zero commercial food waste requirements. Also starting January 1st of this year, commercial food waste requirements will extend to retail food stores with a floor area of at least 10,000 square feet. Colleagues in universities with at least 2,000 residential students. These entities must now abide by 6 key food waste requirements, such as ensuring proper storage for food waste on site, including a container with a secure lid. I also have a bit more information on that. If you would like any of that, feel free to reach out to me. And then I'll end with the new 311 service request for dockless vehicles. As of January 1, 2023, enhancements are coming to report complaints about the parking of dockless e-bikes or scooters in the district. To facilitate responses to dockless vehicles requests, the district Department of Transportation will now use the Office of Unified Communications 311 system. In turn, response tickets will be issued to shared mobility operators who are required to remedy the illegal parked dockless vehicles within 2 hours. And that is the end of my notes. My name is Gerard Allen. I serve as your Ward 1 MOCR. My information will be in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me. I do have meetings with most of you guys lined up pretty soon, but again, I'm here to give you any information from the government or from the mayor's office that you might need or you might didn't know was there. At any time, feel free to reach out to me, or as well as your constituents in your neighborhood, residents, business owners that, you know, they can't navigate government services and they might need help doing that. Feel free to give them my information. Best reachable by phone, but feel free to send me a detailed email with any of the concerns that you might be having, and I'll see what I can do to, you know, get you an expedited answer on that. So that's my spiel. Any questions for me? I'll take that right now. Appreciate it.
Thanks. I read about, I'm glad that you spoke also about the mayor and DDOT's concern about pedestrian access and dockless vehicles blocking sidewalks and other places and making it unsafe or difficult to walk around, especially people who may be pushing a stroller or using a mobility device. My question, and the 2-hour turnaround is fantastic. There are other vehicles that frequently block sidewalks, such as illegally parked cars or illegally parked trucks. Is the mayor or is DDOT looking at imposing a similar 2-hour turnaround time for those vehicles, or is this just going to be imposed on scooters and bikes?
So right now, I think the mayor and along with the nightlife task force is trying to find a way to continue to keep parking enforcement kind of moving throughout the 24-hour cycle day, because we are getting an uptick in illegally parked cars and things of that nature. But again, those things aren't finalized. I will definitely raise those questions and notes in my meeting with leadership. But again, any updates that I might get, Mr. Tugger, I'll bring them your way and we can go from there, right?
Thank you, Mr. Allen. I know I know it's a bit unfair to push you on policy questions that you were not making the policies, but I appreciate you conveying these concerns along and taking these concerns seriously. And thank you in general for your work.
I appreciate it.
Commissioner Sycamore.
Hey, Mr. Allen, it's so great to put a name with a face. Just quick question for the battery recycle program. What kind of batteries are we talking about here? Are we talking about everything from like AAA to car batteries, or what are we talking here? And who would we contact for that again? And I'm sorry, maybe I missed that.
Well, it's a lengthy list of all of the things that entail, and that you can hit me right after this meeting and I can get all the way into it. I can send you some links with some information that can add to it. Gotcha.
Any other questions? Commissioner Kinzig, did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to thank him. That's all. Appreciate it, Mr. Allen.
Man, appreciate you.
All right. Office of the Council Member.
Thanks, Chair Harris. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin. I work for Council Member Brianna Doe. She was able to chat with y'all at the beginning of the meeting, so I'll keep my updates pretty brief, so I'm not repetitive. So we just entered the new council period 25. As the council member mentioned, she'll be chairing the Committee on Public Works and Operations. And during this time frame, she hopes to tackle waste reduction, keeping streets and neighborhoods clean, as well as addressing parking enforcement challenges across the city. I'm to drop the link, share with y'all all of the agencies that are under the committee after I'm done chatting. In terms of our office space in the Wilson building, in the new council period, we are moving. We'll be in room 108. So come visit us if you want to. And we will also have a lot of new onboarding staff members. We have a new committee director, a new constituent service specialist, Lauren, who will be joining our team. And she'll be actually covering 1B. So I'll get her to come and introduce herself to y'all soon. And we'll also have a new communications director. The council member likes to host monthly community outreach hours. She calls them Brianna Your Block, BOYB. And the one in January is being finalized. And once that information is finalized, I'll share that all the ANC commissioners on this call. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'll also drop my email in the chat. If I'm unable to answer your question now, I'll follow up after the call.
Commissioners, any questions? Okay, thanks, Kevin. Commissioner announcements. Now, this just to give a really quick, brief overview of commissioner announcements. This is really anything from commissioners. If you have a event in your SMD, a cleanup, or anything else, you can announce it here. If there's something happening in your SMD and an event from another organization, please feel free to announce it. But this is the section kind of for that. Commissioner Hanahan.
Thanks, Commissioner Harris. Just in case it got lost in the economic development update, want to remind everyone that there is a disposition hearing on January 26th at 6:30. It's in person at the Housing Finance Agency, 615 Florida Ave. Would definitely encourage commissioners to be there and share with their constituents.
Thank you. Right, community announcements. I believe we have one from Karen Gall, and we have another person, Dorothy Deppens, raising her hand, but Commissioner Jones, can you, if you're ready, Karen, if you could raise your hand, then Commissioner Jones can take you off of mute.
Good evening, and again, welcome each and every one of you, and congratulations on your beautiful appointment as our newest commissioners for ANC 1B. I am here in the capacity of representing our wonderful and illustrious organization, the 3rd District Citizens Advisory Council, which is under the Metropolitan Police Department. It is a council that was fully constituted by the Chief of Police in 1981. It's the 3DCAC is a nonprofit program provider for public safety, social betterment, public health, emergency preparedness programs, and management services for youth to executive level education systems. And it supports public health, emergency management, and law enforcement collaboration for the social betterment of Washington, D.C. And since the 3rd District encompasses most of the ANCs in the area, which is ANC 1B, 1E, and it's 6, we actually have 6 ANCs, commissions, 6 ANC commissions, but we have 12 ANC actual members that are to be in place on the safety committee that we have openings for, because you all are new to the commission. For the Public Safety Council openings, we have open positions for community members to join the 3DCAC. The Public Council has a opening for 2 community residents, 2 community businesses from each one of the 3rd District patrol service areas. That's patrol service areas 301 to 308. And to receive an equitable community input, each community member will have an opportunity to serve 6-month terms. In addition to the robust community input, we'll continue to invite each one of the ANCs, the single member district commissioners to under the 3rd District MPD jurisdiction to also have the ANC public safety representative. As you just elected your newest member, Commissioner Ashley Fields, she will be representing 1B on the commission, along with the other constituents in this area. You can join, if you're a constituent, you can join by going to 3dcac.org and click join our team to fill out the application process. Also, this month, we'll have the Martin Luther King Day of Service event, in which we have invited all of our beautiful 3rd District residents from ages 5 to 19 to participate in the Martin Luther King National Day of Service to mark the 28th anniversary of the Day of Service for Martin Luther King's indelible mark in history with his defining moments that he's did, namely the I Have a Dream speech. We're asking each one of the constituents to provide a artistic expression of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech through saying I have a dream in public safety. They can express their interest either through spoken word, through an art project, through an essay, and they'll have the opportunity to present this work on Saturday, January the 14th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at our 3rd District MPD station located at 1620 V Street Northwest. Also, we have the 3rd District Citizens Advisory January 2023 Public Safety Community Meeting that would allow public safety representatives and community members who are passionately engaged in the assistance of supporting safer neighborhoods to join together to make a difference during an interactive community meeting. And showing up is always fundamental for each one of the meetings. And so what we'll be discussing, we'll have our commander, James Boteller, explain to everyone the stats that's going on and also speak to the community about public safety issues. We'll have agency representatives from the various different Washington, D.C. agencies on board, as well as elected officials to also engage in topics of public safety. The date of that meeting is going to be January the 26th from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And the location for the meeting will be the 3rd District MPD station at 1620 V Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. And again, we're looking forward to having all of the newest people that are interested in serving on the Public Safety Council to please go to 3dcac.org, click the join link and fill out the application. And it's a quick process. And we're just looking forward to having you serve to make sure that our community that's growing is definitely all the critical concerns for our youth, our seniors, and all of the constituents in the area is being met. So thank you very much. And I appreciate you all offering your time.
Thank you, Ms. Gall. For Commissioner Kinsick, did you have a question?
Yeah, Chairwoman Gall, thank you for your efforts in our city that is right now going through a lot. Just public safety. I have been to several of your meetings. I find them to be very informative and good for just communities and getting together. I think that you had sent me something yesterday, which I distributed amongst the group on this call for commissioners. But I do think that it would be great if you could possibly give Commissioner Jones something that we could put on the website as well, listing this information, just because you gave a lot of great information. And I just want to make sure people can get all that down who weren't able to capture all that. That's it I have. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you. And certainly I will add each one of you all to the email list. And I know Commissioner Kinsick that you had the information because of your attendance, but I certainly will make sure that each commissioner, the new commissioners will be added. And Commissioner Jones, I'll ensure that I send something to you monthly in regards to any special events with CDCAC, okay? Thank you.
Commissioner Sycamore, let's keep this a couple minutes.
Yep, no problem. I just wanted to say, Ms. Gale, thank you so much. Your reputation precedes you. I very much look. It's going to be a pleasure, I'm sure. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's keep some of these a little bit short. I know that we've had a pretty lengthy meeting, although very important because it's our first one. So Commissioner Jones, can you go ahead and unmute Ms. Duppins?
Apologies, I tried to do that and lost. Here we go.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dorothy Duppins. I'm a social worker for Core DC, and Core DC operates the Mary Church Terrell Short-Term Family Housing Shelter on 2500 14th Street Northwest, and I'm also the social worker for the Terrell Permanent Supportive Housing on the side at 1400 Clifton Street. So I just wanted to introduce myself. I participate in these meetings monthly, and also there's a new program director for the short-term family housing, and that would be Bronze Adams. But I could put my information in the chat, and I just wanted to let you all know, welcome, Happy New Year, and that I am involved in the community as an outreach person for the families, the 35 families in the shelter, and the 15 women that live in the supportive permanent side. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I think the Terrell is a really important part of ANC 1B and Ward 1 overall. So really appreciate your work and then you introducing yourself. I know that you've come on other commission meetings. I've seen you in attendance. So if there's any kind of programs or anything that the commission can help with or the community can help with, please absolutely let us know.
I sure will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other community announcements? All right. Well, thank you to everyone, to all of our community members and our new commissioners. Congratulations. Happy New Year. And I adjourn this meeting at 9:24 p.m. Thank you.